Good afternoon, fine sir. Would you like to introduce yourself to me and to the general public at large?
Yeah, I'm Dick Wells. I'm domiciled in Thompson Falls, Montana. I'm a disabled American veteran, a life member, and a longtime friend of Billy Hill's. I came to Montana 45 years ago from the Bay Area in California. I wanted to move my family upwind and upstream. I wanted to be away from the drug culture. When I got here, I found that it was already here. But for the most part, raised our children drug-free, and I'm very proud of my kids, our kids. Got 2 girls and a son. And for some time I worked as an electrician, electrical contractor. I held a master's ticket, and then topped that off by operating a fine food restaurant with my wife called Lonesome Dove. And we were featured on Montana Magazine, and we were on the front page of the Missoulian twice. People used to make reservations from places as far away as Florida and Washington, D.C. Since that time, I've been active in Disabled American Veterans. I was the publicity chairman for Department of Montana. I served on the Transportation Committee. Presently, my membership is at large. I first heard about Billy at the Vinson Rodeo when he climbed on board a bucking bronc, got tossed off and broke his shoulder, raising money to give to a family that had some really, really horrible things happen. First of all, the father crashed his pickup, broke his neck. His wife came to visit with one of their little girls, and while they were at the hospital, the little girl died. And it was just a heart-wrenching experience for everybody that knew that family. Billy was instrumental in raising about $10,000 for the family. That really impressed me. He got my attention. Some years later, Billy, being an outfitter, had a couple of hunters that worked for IBM. They were archery hunters. Archery hunting elk on Elk Mountain, a place where Billy had an exclusive lease. And during the course of that hunt, Billy was attacked or chased by a grizzly bear. He ran by his hunters and said, "It's a grizzly, get on him, get on him." And as they ran by the hunters each shot an arrow into that bear. And Billy came down to a lodgepole pine, wrapped his arms around it, and swung through the air, and the bear went on by and died. Later, the Forest Service and Fish and Game, and I guess Fish and Wildlife Service, dogpiled him. They got a warrant to come to his home and search the premises, looking for evidence to support their case against him as killing an illegal grizzly. And I've never been able to understand how that would enable them to get his spices out and dig their fingers through it, looking for what? There's no grizzly in there. They really abused the search warrant. Anyway, Billy was tried, and his peers found him not guilty.
Regarding the understanding and the trial during the jury process and the verdict in the second trial, Mr. Wells, would you like to talk about a little bit more about what this was about?
I wouldn't want people to be misled thinking that the issue was a grizzly bear. The issue was the right to self-defense. Anyone that allows a grizzly bear to attack and harm them he's insane. One of the first laws of nature is self-preservation. And self-preservation cannot be up for grabs in the heat of battle. So the whole issue was one of self-defense. The grizzly bear was just an implement.
Do you feel that many of the other jurors, or most of the other jurors, understood this right to self-defense?
I'd like to think that they finally came to grips with it.
And
that's how we come to vote in favor of Bill.
So the jurors and yourself understood that the state was violating this right to self-defense.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Do you feel that they were doing so in a vindictive manner towards Mr. Hill, or towards people that would be maybe in a similar situation?
Well, in all fairness, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they were just ignorant.
Which is no excuse.
Right. I think generally that the people in the community thought that Billy was not at fault, should never have been brought to trial. And subsequently then Billy sued for malicious prosecution on the part of the state. And we heard from everybody involved. I remember one of the bear gurus saying that the bear was in excellent health. But Billy said that when they dressed the bear out, its stomach was at least as large as a quart mason jar. And that's pretty much in keeping with a bear that had a broken jaw in the middle of huckleberry season. He wasn't able to eat. So anyway, I don't recall a whole lot about the jury itself, but I do remember two of the jury members. One of them, a fellow by the name of Leamoreaux, who insisted that Billy had to obey the law. And I jumped in the middle of him and said, no, we're talking about the state is supposed to obey the law. And then Marge Peacock, wonderful woman, I sure miss her, she's since passed on, said and brought it to our attention in clear focus on 3 separate occasions during the trial. We heard the state say that they were after Billy Hill. They were out to get him. Well, that pretty well clinched it for everybody, and we voted to find for Billy. But we didn't know what to find him for. His lawyer never asked for anything, so we asked the judge to give us some guidelines of what we should give Billy by way of settlement. He declined. So he left it up to us. Well, we had no way of knowing what Billy needed, what harm he'd actually suffered in a pecuniary sense. So we did the best of our ability, and I think we finally decided that $100,000 ought to pretty well square matters for him. And subsequently learned that, no, that was nearly enough. Not nearly enough, because his lawyer got most of it. So I remember thinking that Billy would have been better served if he'd just simply done it himself and not had a lawyer. Because the lawyer's first obligation is to the court, not to his client. He's an officer of the court. And it should come as no surprise to anyone that Billy was not well served by that lawyer. But that's water under the bridge. Billy ran for sheriff. And I was very pleased to see that, because I felt like Billy probably had a better perspective of what a sheriff ought to be about than anybody else running for the office. And he knew what it was like to suffer at the hands of government. And I knew that Billy would defend us from government as his first obligation.
Do you think this trial or series of trials here in Sanders County over this, do you think it affected the community, or did it affect those in the community, especially towards the second trial where the federal government was unwilling to accept the agreement, or the win, I should say?
Well, the thing that I saw following the trial was the game warden, who was probably as culpable as anybody in this matter, was given a promotion and transferred out of the area. That was a slap in the face of the jury.
Did you feel that the community understood what was won here by the right to self-defense? Did it affect the community, or did the community become as aware of what this meant to them?
I wish I could say yes. But unfortunately, as you know, the public is not all-knowing, all-seeing, and certainly doesn't understand everything that comes their way, because they got biases one way or another.
Mr. Wells, I really appreciate your time and your honesty. Your opinions matter in this community because you're a long-standing member of the community and veteran. Very appreciated. Very appreciated.
Thank you.